Okay, guys, so this is really our final lesson on human evolution, and really that means it's the final lesson of Unit 4, Outcome 1. So, starting off, we're going to look at the two main theories of hominin migration, okay? So by that I essentially mean the two main theories of how Homo sapiens came to spread out all over the world. And there are two main theories, and one is the regional continuity hypothesis, and one of them is the out of Africa hypothesis. Okay. Now, both of these rely on the fact that Homo sapiens evolved from Homo erectus, and we also know that Homo erectus definitely originated in Africa from studying the fossil record. Now, the regional continuity hypothesis states that Homo erectus moved from Africa into various different regions of the world, and at those regions they independently evolved into Homo sapiens, basically through convergent evolution. So basically they left, like I say, the Homo erectus evolved in Africa, lived there for a long, long time, and then began to move away and moved into different regions, and in those regions selective pressures began making it evolve into Homo sapiens. Okay, so that's one of the theories, like a converging due to similar selective pressures leading to that happening. The other theory is the out of Africa model. Okay, the out of Africa model states that Homo erectus evolved into Homo sapiens in Africa and then migrated out and spread around the world. So rather than Homo erectus moving out of Africa and then evolving into Homo sapiens, it's saying that Homo erectus evolved into Homo sapiens in Africa and then spread out over the world. And I've just got two sort of diagrams to sum up those two theories. So I've got the regional continuity hypothesis there. So I'm showing that Homo erectus is in Africa, and then it moves out into Europe, Arabia, Asia, America. From Asia, it would have moved down into Oceania as well. And then in all those separate locations, it evolved into Homo sapiens. So that's what regional continuity says. Whereas out of Africa says that Homo erectus in Africa evolved into Homo sapiens, and then moved into Europe, Arabia, Asia, America, etc. Okay? Now, probably just from looking at those, you can probably work out that out of Africa is the more accepted hypothesis. Apart from anything else, this one, the regional continuity one, that just seems quite unlikely. The idea that several times the selective pressures would make the Homo erectus evolve into Homo sapiens in a way that they're still all able to interbreed and make fertile offspring, it just seems sort of unlikely. So out of Africa out of Africa just makes more sense, but also there is evidence to back that up. Okay. First of all, the fossil record does support it. So in the fossil record, we tend to find that the oldest Homo sapien fossils are found in Africa, as we would expect. If the regional continuity hypothesis was true, we'd expect to see Homo sapiens of a similar age, in all the different places where they independently evolved. So the fossil record supports it in that way. And also mitochondrial DNA analysis supports that as well. So basically there's greater variation in the DNA of humans from like sub-Saharan Africa, where Homo sapiens would have evolved in the out of Africa hypothesis, because they've been able to be generating more mutations with more time. So just on the face of it, out of Africa does make more sense, and then the fossils and DNA evidence backs that up as well. Now we're just going to have a quick look at types of evolution. This is just a quick thing because parts of this have been taken out of the study design. So far we've talked lots about biological evolution. It's when natural selection acts on populations over many generations, which causes change in their phenotypes over time. But there is also cultural and technological change. So cultural evolution is a societal change over time, and it's socially transmitted, not genetically. So that's things like societal norms, customs, languages, etc. Those are cultural, and they're passed down over time. They are not transmitted genetically. They're transmitted through social interaction. So to give you quite an obvious example, I mentioned language before. If somebody is born to, German-speaking parents in Germany, but then gets adopted at a young age and moves to, Spain, and gets brought up in a Spanish environment, they will speak Spanish, not German. So their language has not been inherited, it's been societally transmitted to them. So that's cultural evolution in action. Other things that humans do that are more learnt and passed down through social interaction. Think about when you greet somebody. Before 2020 and things got a bit weird, it'd be normal to do that as a handshake, but there's no genetic thing that makes you do a handshake as a greeting. That's you learning a cultural thing over time, and that's been socially transmitted down through lots and lots of generations, not through genetics. There's also technological evolution, which is advances in technology. And that can be really simple technology that the very primitive humans would have done. So using plant parts to tie a sharpened stone to a stick to help with hunting, that would be technological evolution. But even technological evolution ongoing today, like building powerful supercomputers, it all counts. So technology changing and helping humans over time is technological evolution. But ultimately, both of those types of evolution are ultimately caused by biological evolution, because both of them rely on things like grouping together socially, which is ultimately caused by genetic behaviour. And then obviously the technological evolution is linked to intelligence, which is caused by the big brain size that Homo sapiens have. So cultural and technological evolution are very interesting, but they are ultimately the result of biological evolution as well. And the final thing that we're going to look at is the Homo deniscens. So Homo deniscens are a very recent discovery. They were discovered, I believe, back in 2015. And it's based off just a couple of fossils, like a finger bone fragment and a couple of teeth. So very, very small bits of fossil evidence, but enough to look at them and say clearly, okay, this is not quite a Homo sapien, and it's not an extinct relative either. So it's not Homo erectus, it's not Homo neanderthals, it's something different. So we actually also recovered some DNA from that bone and the tooth. And like it says, it tells us that that DNA as well was able to tell us for sure that they're not modern Homo sapiens or Neanderthals, although they could possibly be a subspecies, which I'll talk about in a bit. And they died out about 30,000 to 15,000 years ago. So that's just an example of how a modern discovery has been made through fossil evidence. Something quite interesting about human evolution in general is that the conclusions that we draw are often liable to be wrong in the future, because if you think about it, we're often basing these fossils off just a few fragments, so our understanding of the extinct hominin groups has changed over time and may continue to change in the future, because one scientist's interpretation of a fossil could be different to another's, and therefore things that are put as separate species may be part of the same species, and it's liable to change over time. And just a final point about this. So early Homo sapiens definitely interbred with those closely related species like Neanderthals and Denisovans. And that raises questions on whether Denisovans and Neanderthals are separate species or if they were subspecies of Homo sapiens. And we're not really sure of the answer. The fact that they were capable of interbreeding and obviously making offspring with Homo sapiens may indicate that they are a subspecies, not a species. But it is also really important to remember that speciation is not a sudden event. We know that something is a species when it is able to interbreed and make fertile offspring. But speciation, when two new species arise, doesn't happen instantly. It happens over an extended period of time. And obviously, in the early stages of speciation, it may still be possible to interbreed, make fertile offspring, and then over time it becomes less and less and less and less possible. So there's definitely Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA in humans. That may indicate that Neanderthals and Denisovans were just subspecies of humanity, but also it may not. And just some examples of variation in that. So these are generalizations, but they tend to be pretty consistent. So typically speaking, sub-Saharan African humans have little to no Neanderthal DNA in them. Eurasians have about 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA in them. And then Melanesians, Polynesians, some Southeast Asian populations in parts of Indonesia and the Philippines, and indigenous Australians have about 3 to 6% Denisovan DNA, but not much Neanderthal DNA. So those just link into where Neanderthals and Denisovans were found as Homo sapiens were in those areas as well historically. So it's quite interesting by looking at just human evolution, we can see even in modern humans how there's some slight differences in DNA due to that. Anyway, that is the end of Unit 4 Outcome 1. Let's get revising.